If I'm interested in dating Beyoncé, that makes me no closer to doing so. The transfer window can be one of the most exciting times in the football calendar. Stories fly around, fans debate their club's business, and huge deals go from small rumours on the fringes of the internet to reality. Some of the most hilarious and memorable moments of my Arsenal supporting life have been related to the transfer window. Anyone who remembers this will know what I'm talking about. But the transfer window is a business. Not just the deals themselves and the astronomical amount of money involved, but the coverage and discussion around them too. And with business comes profit and loss. Arsenal have a huge global fan base, with supporters clubs in North America, all across Africa, Asia and beyond. In 2013, the BBC produced a report estimating the global Arsenal fan base at around 113 million people, the third highest in England. And in the last decade or so, with the popularity of the Premier League increasing abroad, that number is likely to have gone up. Even now, with Arsenal's less salubrious footballing fortunes, they're still in the top 10 most followed football clubs in the world on social media. Arsenal's fan base is big, but the most important part for the business of the transfer window is that it's engaged. Ask Arsenal Twitter to vote for something, and they will do so in their droves. It's no secret, and editors, bloggers, producers and more know this, and tailor their copy and imagery to exploit it. To drive profit, the pyramid of content creation including podcasts, blogs, newspapers and more from Sky and BT right down to online fan media are all optimised to drive engagement. Clicks, taps and swipes online to drive ad impressions follow the same principles as the heyday of print media. Studies say that we are at our most engaged when we are angry or outraged, so headlines are often tailored to be the most salacious or emotional angle on the story possible. When we're engaged, we're worth more to those producing that content. Take this one about Lacazette's departure from Arsenal as an example. Lacazette's contract is expiring anyway, but this headline frames the story so we feel as though he's so desperate to leave Arsenal that he's willing to take a significant pay cut, the implication being that Arsenal is a bad place to be. Fans resent that sentiment, so will either share that article in disgust or click on it to see more. Either way, the publication writing it wins. However, I don't think one should cast aspersions. Without those ad impressions, people buying newspapers, signing up to mailing lists and clicking on links, the whole financial model crumbles. And then in our contemporary saturated space, you have to do everything you can to stand out. In the end, people take from it what they will. Even the title of this video is optimized to get you to click on it. If I titled this Arsenal and the Media, it wouldn't get half as much engagement. And unfortunately, if you want to be heard, it's part of the game now. On the end of every pen and behind every keyboard is just another person trying to put food on the table for their family. We're all victims of this mechanism. No one individual drives it. So casting aside any lingering moral judgments, the part that interests me most is how this phenomenon divides fan bases and drives narratives, even when based on total fabrication. Fans will chastise their clubs for not signing players that they were never credibly linked with in the first place, and years down the line still hold resentment for fumbling the bag on a certain deal that may not have even been discussed in the first place. Karim Benzema, anyone? We have to remember how little we actually know about the inner workings of the clubs that we love. Even though we do have a lot of credible reporting and are able to cross-reference and cross-examine certain things, the internal relationships, the business operations, and what the club's plans may be are a gap in our knowledge where educated guesswork goes. And in that tiny window, we can get used for profit by those who pretend to know, both as clubs and individuals. Yesterday morning, I logged onto Twitter and saw rumours that Arsenal were interested in Barcelona midfielder Frenkie de Jong. I'm a big fan of the player, so of course, I was happy to hear our name linked with such quality, and I decided to do some digging to see how credible the link was. The report seemed to stem from an article in the Daily Mirror on their website. I scanned their tweets from that day, nothing about de Jong and Arsenal, so I decided to do an advanced search from the account @MirrorFootball and the words de Jong Arsenal from the 2nd of June 2022 to see if I was missing something. Nothing. So I tried just de Jong Arsenal, and I found an article about de Jong from the 31st of May titled "Frenkie de Jong's Arsenal dream comes to light as Barcelona star breaks silence on Man United links." Maybe there's something in there. Spoiler alert, there wasn't. Instead, it's an article with a small nod to Arsenal at the beginning, simply stating that Arsenal may be able to get ahead in the race against Manchester United by referring to some old quotes from 2019, where de Jong talks about Arsenal in a good light, comparing his footballing journey to Marc Overmars and talking about how he used to like the club. A further search of Frenkie de Jong on the Daily Mirror's website revealed this as the only article where Arsenal are mentioned. Wider mention of Frenkie de Jong from other publications only leads back to the same article. Sport.es Barca Universal and Football London all referenced the Mirror article mentioned, Sportskeda somehow concluded that Arsenal had entered the race to sign him, and Sky Sports even discussed it live on air. But this completely fake story didn't stop fans battering the club. Twitter is a bad barometer of fan sentiment, but it can drive narrative at times, and it extends out to YouTube, Reddit and Discord, other online Arsenal communities. Though some saw straight through it, most were either mocking it or using it as a stick to beat Arsenal with. Though brilliantly, there was one guy who said he'd put him at centre forward. United fans piled in too, using the fake interest to indicate that further development towards United would be a slight on Arsenal. More to the point, even if it was true, a club being interested in a player basically means nothing. Clubs look at thousands upon thousands of players a year, doing detailed video and in-person scouting and data analysis. Arsene Wenger used to talk about tracking players for years before he made a move. If I'm interested in dating Beyonce, that makes me no closer to doing so. It's common knowledge that agents often see if they can get a better deal for their player by planting stories in the media about another club's interest. Even the United interest, which feels a bit more concrete, could be De Jong and his team angling for a few more zeros on his new Barcelona deal. But another phenomenon is when Arsenal are pitted against another club, often a club seen as a contemporary rival like Spurs or Man United, to manufacture races for players even if there isn't one. Then once it's built up, regardless of truth, if Arsenal don't sign the player, they're painted to have missed out on that player. It's done here regarding Adam Klosek, using Arsenal's name purely to drive engagement to English fans for an international move, even if there was only a passing interest in the player reported by any credible source. And sometimes there's not even a kernel of truth. This next one? Even worse. The summer of 2020 will be remembered for a long, drawn-out pursuit of Lyon's Houssem Aouar, and a reported standoff with Lyon president Jean-Michel Aulas? Sorry, French viewers. Reports reappeared last summer but were soon quashed, and again this summer, his name is linked. Through Twitter, I eventually found a tweet from Team Talk saying we were leading the race for Houssem Aouar, which linked to an RMC article. The RMC article linked out to a Foot Mercato article, and that Foot Mercato article quite literally says, "Remember when Arsenal liked Aouar?" in a paragraph about Real Betis, and I even checked that with a French speaker. I did some more digging. I thought there might be something about Aouar and Arsenal on L'Équipe because of a thumbnail I saw on a Google search. I couldn't find it and thought it may be behind their paywall, so I ended up paying their premium subscription for €10, you're welcome, just to check. Nothing. This is a common theme. Roundabouts of links out to other sites with no real credibility. L'Équipe send you to AS, who send you out to The Sun, who send you to Bild, who send you back to L'Équipe. An international merry-go-round. A trip around Europe with none of the sun on your back, false promises, and these days no right to live or work. And in a funny way, we're back to where we started too. What drives all of this? Passion. A pure love for a club, an identity, the game. The idea that someone could come in and transform the fortunes of something is a tale older than the game itself. It's a story seen in mythology, a great hero or warrior that turns the tide of the war. That's why the window holds such promise. The transfer window takes that story and microdoses it, holding it above fans and pipetting it into our open mouths from publications who need it just as much as us. I suppose what all of this is saying is really this. When I was old enough to know better, I wrote an article for an online Arsenal fan publication. Could have been Daily Cannon, I can't remember. I basically wanted the Higuain deal to happen so bad that I made up that he was at London Heathrow and was about to do a medical. The editor came back to me and basically said, "This isn't true, we can't post this." My response? But I want it to be. Don't get caught up in the madness.